Now we're going to look at a high-low pattern. Look at example 3, diagram 1, and also chart 1, the second row. Notice what we're doing. We're approaching each of those chord tones from the upper diatonic neighbor. Notice my terminology. Upper diatonic neighbor means simply the next highest note in the major scale. You're not going out of the key. There isn't a lot of tension. It might be a little bit weaker, but there's not a lot of tension. We explored that back in lesson 2. All right, so if we look at example 3, here's our C major arpeggio, 1 note per string. You will simply be following your arpeggio, but approaching from a whole step or a half step above. Okay, so it'll be a whole step if you're approaching 2 to 1. If you are targeting the 1, you're always going to approach it from the 2. Make sense? If you're targeting the 3, and you can see this quite clearly in diagram 1. I want you to see this. Don't just play the tabbed examples. I want you guys to see this information on the fingerboard. That's why I don't throw many tabbed examples at y'all. All right, so here's 2 to 1. Here's 4 to 3. And here's 6 to 5. So you want to memorize. If I'm targeting the 1, and I'm going to use an upper neighbor, it's going to be a whole step higher. This is where you can use patterns a little bit. If I'm targeting the 5, my upper neighbor is a whole step higher. But if I'm targeting the 3, my upper neighbor is a half step higher. So let's play example 3. Let's put it to work. Let's play over a track here. Played over a straight track here. I think this is a straight rhythm. And if I play it like that, it sounds like an exercise. There's nothing wrong with it. Notice what happens if I descend. It's just the scale isn't that much of it. Because look at the numbers. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then we don't play the 7th, then it starts over. Okay, so that's something you'll notice on these patterns, is that a lot of times it might just be a scale fragment. You might say, well, I already know that. I already know, like, I know my scales. But I guarantee that your hands are tied because you're not able to jump around and you're not going to be able to build like we're going to get into where we mix these things together and get some great lines. Okay, so very quickly, that was the high-low approach. And remember, what are we wanting to do? We want to make sure that you can play it a lot of different ways. So and you know I like playing jazz. All you guys know I'm a real big jazz fan. So what did I just do? I took this principle of high to low using diagram 1, example 3, and all this information, the second line of chart 1, and I used octaves. So I went D to C. So that's a 2-1 move. Everything's in numbers. Then I might skip a string, go 6-5. Then come back, 4-3, maybe 2-1. See what I mean? And then that starts to sound like music. Remember, you must take these things and twist them and turn them. And right there, you might use legato slides. You might use pull-offs. You might pick them. And you could bend. You know, you could like... I'm not going to get into that so much in this lesson because I just want to throw the ideas out there. But make sure you explore all the tools that we have as guitarists. Picking the notes, hammering on, pulling off, legato slides up, legato slides down, bending up to a note, and pre-bending and coming down to a note. And you know, you could tap too. That's another way to play this, all right? So that was the high-low move. I want to make sure that you understand that if you don't get this lesson and the previous lesson under your fingers, it's not going to be as easy for you to start proceeding forward. So make sure you review these 2 lessons and you clearly understand them. They're simple on the face, and they're really not that complicated, but make sure you see them on the neck and that you start thinking in a different manner than your normal pentatonic views or major scale views or even just arpeggios. A lot of people say they know arpeggios, but I'll challenge them. I'll say, okay, don't play the notes in successive order, ascending or descending. Mix them up. And they get a little tangled up because they're not used to that either orally or mentally or even physically. So make sure you practice these things, skipping strings, jumping around, and play over these jam tracks. They are oriented more toward a swing feel. I've got 3 that have swing 8th notes, and then one of them is a straight feel. And, well, actually, one of them is a swing 16th feel. So it's important for you to explore both those feels, straight and shuffle figures.